So welcome to another of our Talking Head series. Today I'm with Jim Woods, who's Chief Executive of Green Mondays. So Jim, what is Green Mondays?
It was set up in 2008 as a green events business, looking at climate change, and it was a forum for large corporates to come to terms with the science of climate change. Today, it's the most valuable role we can play is in disseminating innovation, and that's really what we do.
You're speaking at our AIS conference on the 17th of October at the CBI Conference Centre in London about the business case for sustainability. Isn't that difficult to do in the current economic climate?
I think the case for a lot of parts of sustainability has got harder. But where sustainability is linked to resource prices, so particularly around energy prices, water prices, where scarcity of resource is the issue, most of these prices have been going up.
So what you're saying is that business as usual is not tenable for companies in the current climate?
Well, I think you've got to take a step back and say, what is the changing paradigm? And that is really one where we're moving to an era where we're becoming more resource efficient, where we're going to have 9 billion instead of 7 billion people living on this planet, and where business is becoming increasingly connected with society, particularly driven by social media and the transparency agenda associated with that. So you can't afford to ignore it.
So just picking up on that point about population growth, that puts great stress upon resources. How do you see the two things linking up, and what's the impact going to be on business?
Well, I think businesses that are more efficient will have better margins and be stronger businesses. The transparency agenda will play a very big role within that, and as companies become more and more transparent in how they use products, and how they create products using different environmental ingredients, and show that, then that will in itself become a driver of change, and a lot of the pressure will come from the business to consumer part of the supply chain, which will over time, I have no doubt, mean that we're using dramatically less resources to produce the same output of GDP than we are today.
So is the message basically, if you waste less resource that you have, and bearing in mind they're going to go up in value over a period of time, you will become a more profitable business. You should do it for that reason probably as much as any.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you'll then have a nice story on top as well.
You've discussed already resource efficiency and the need for transparency in the world that's driven by Twitter and social media and Facebook and those kind of things. So what you're saying is that if businesses don't change, they will die?
I would say there are a lot of businesses that is true for. There are some that doesn't apply to, but I think within a lot of supply chains, it is becoming increasingly dangerous to not adapt. And I think if you look at what's driving that, it really is the transparency agenda, starting with the B2C businesses. So you've got a lot of the retailers who are looking at things like product transparency over a lot of key resources around carbon, around energy, but also increasingly social. And they're sending out strong signals through their supply chain that they need to know that information. Now, if you're ignoring this agenda, there may well come a point where you can no longer supply because you can't provide that information, or because the information that you do provide is unappealing to the end retailer. So, yeah, I think particularly in supply chains, this is a big risk.
Who do you most admire in the business world, and why?
Gosh, there are so many people I admire in the business world. I mean, I think there are probably two types that I particularly admire. You've got the leaders who have transformed organisations, but in many ways the most interesting heroes, I think, are those who are working in large organisations where maybe the CEO isn't particularly interested in sustainability, or doesn't get it, doesn't want to get it, isn't really on their agenda, and who are able to create change within their organisation without having that space created by a chief executive. And those would be my two types of hero.
Jim, thank you very much indeed.